Hi, welcome back to my video blog where I talk about how to start a company as I go through the process so that you see the ups and downs as I experience them and we can all hopefully learn something together. So today I wanted to talk about company culture and the tips and tricks that I've been learning about so far. I'll probably have to update this as we go along, but this is just what I have for now. So when should you start thinking about company culture? Well, right away. You might notice that I say that you have to think about a lot of things right away, and that's true because you've got to think about everything in parallel, otherwise you might go too far down one road without having to think through everything. I was at a conversation once, the woman being interviewed, she said that you have a culture either by design or by default. So with that in mind, if you don't make an honest and intentional effort to have a company culture, there will still be one, but you won't have nearly as much control over what that is. And we've seen companies that have suffered for this in the past. So how do you make a good company culture? I would say the first thing to think about is that you should really think about your values, what you personally, what really matters to you. And let those be the beginning tenets. So for me, for example, I think it's very important to let people have independence, set deadlines and expectations, but I'm very much not a fan of telling people what hours they need to work, what setting they need to work in, etc., because I don't like to be constrained that way. I like to do my work when I want to, and sometimes it's in the mornings, I get up and just get everything done, and then sometimes I don't really kick in until the afternoon or night, and I don't want to have that affect my life, and so it's unfair for me to turn around and expect it from anyone else. That leads me to my second point, which is that your company culture should be based on things that you can actually follow through with consistently. And I say this because you might value something, but if you can't do it all the time, you can't expect everyone else to be held up to the same standard. So for example, sometimes I really wish that I were a morning person. I wish I could get up at 4:30 or 5 and just get the day done and be in the office by 6 or 7 and get tons of work done. But the fact is that my biological clock is not really like that, and even when I can get up, I usually don't get anything done intellectually speaking. The only thing I can really do is like go to the gym or something. So if I were to say to any employee that I brought on, you're expected to be in the office at 7 a.m., it's going to look odd because I didn't do that. So how can I expect other people to? Even if it's something that I do value, if you don't have the discipline to really follow it through, then that shouldn't be one of your values that you base your company culture around. The last thing I'd say is that culture isn't just something that you write down on a document and put away for forever. It's something that you need to really live and breathe, every day of your life, pretty much like every email you send, every new hire you make, every web page that you put out there, it all has to reflect your values. So I care an awful lot about transparency. I'm making this blog showing the good sides and maybe the not so good sides of starting a company. And so that's something that's very important to me, and I make sure to do always, is to be as honest as possible in all my communications with everyone. And that includes doing some things that are very scary for me, like admitting often that I don't have all the answers or the right answers, which I'll get into in another video. But nevertheless, it's important to me, so I try to portray that in everything I do. So basically, I would definitely say talk about your company culture as early as possible with your co-founders first, and then with every person afterwards. Make sure they really understand what you mean. A buzzword is all well and good, But if you can have some set examples of what that means, as well as really discussing why it's important to you, I think that will do a really good job in getting everyone on the same page in terms of the mission of your company, not just in what you guys do, but how you guys do it, which is the most important for company culture. Company culture is often something that people want to ignore because it's hard to define. You know, you don't want to think about that when you can achieve lines of code or a marketing plan or whatever, but it is really, really important. It's really important because typically you live your values every day anyway. You know, everything that you buy or everything that you do reflects your values. Now, it doesn't have very big repercussions most of the time in your personal life because you are the only one who benefits or suffers from your choices of the values you portray. You know, it only reflects on you as a person. But as soon as you have something bigger like a company or an organization, everything that you do is now not only reflective of you, it has consequences for your whole company and the futures of all of these people that you have hired. So it's very, very important that you think about them, not just yourself, as you start building a company. And that means having strong values right away that you can refer to every time that there's a difficult decision to be made, or just every time that you need to make any sort of decision in general. All right, so those are my thoughts. If you have anything that you want to add or you have any questions for future videos, feel free to comment, like and subscribe if you want to get further notifications on my future videos. I wish you the best, and I'll see you soon.